Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're just shy of our scheduled start time, so we'll hold off another couple minutes to have some of the attendees that will trickle in, and we'll get started here right on our scheduled time. Thanks. Well, I'd just like to say thanks for joining us this afternoon. The goal today was to have an interactive conversation. There will be a little bit of a presentation, but I do want this to feel, despite our distance and especially our social distance in the era of COVID-19, I'd like to have this feel a little bit more intimate than your typical webinar. So what I'm actually going to do, gang, is I'm going to unmute the microphones of all the attendees. And what I'd ask is that you mute your microphone when I do this, and unmute it to pipe in. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone at this point. And if you would, you can all say hello, or we can, if you take a second and just mute your phone. There we go. I think everyone is now unmuted. And so, like I said, if you have a question or a comment, by all means, feel free to unmute yourself and share with the group. So to get started, I just want to say thank you to Danny Mueller from Frankensolar Americas. He put this. He invited us to put on a webinar for all of our Canadian partners and installers. And I was just really happy to be able to connect with everyone, despite not being able to enter the country right now. My wife and I spend half the time in Nova Scotia and half the time in New York. And, maybe unfortunately, this time around, we were in New York when the border closed. Much would have preferred to be in Nova Scotia, where there's a lot less people and a lot less illness. But we are happy and healthy, and tending to our small backyard farm that we started this year. So without further ado, I'd like to actually introduce Danny Mueller from Frankensolar. He's going to get us started and well, I'll leave it to him. Danny, are you on the line?
I am.
Great to hear you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's been a while since we were face to face, but hopefully the border will open up again soon, and you can come up, or I can come into the U.S. again as well. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
And we've met for the first time actually in Nova Scotia, you and I,
Yes.
back in what was it, December, at one of those Nova Scotia trade shows for solar. That was always been very good.
Yeah, it was the first time Nova Scotia had put on any renewable energy symposium or trade show.
Correct, and what a great city, right?
Awesome town.
But yeah, so I think we're a couple of minutes early, but I guess why not? We want to get started right away.
Oh no, not necessarily. We still have attendees, so we can keep it casual. With that said, gentlemen.
Yeah, let's keep it casual then for a couple of minutes.
Yeah. If anyone wants to unmute and join the conversation, by all means. Me and Danny kind of have a similar mindset about how business should go, and keeping it casual, and having everyone be able to share their ideas. I think really advances things more than just some guy standing at a podium, right?
Absolutely.
So, Danny, what is it like in Ontario right now? I was under the impression that the COVID cases have been reducing steadily since the peak, and are you guys opening up for business?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't. Frankensolar has never really closed. Solar or electricity as a whole has been deemed a essential business in Canada. I'm assuming it's similar in the US. So we were able to stay open. We did have a bunch of people working from home, and that's but our office was open. We had probably half the staff in, half the staff at home, and it allowed us to keep sending equipment to all the partners, which was good. And most of them remained open as well and installing solar. So that has been a good thing for sure. But the cases have gone down in Canada. I think we're down to 600 cases across the country yesterday. So it's definitely improving fast.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. We've had a similar experience here in the States for RoofTech. We really haven't slowed down at all. The only difference in my day-to-day is, rather than joining crews for on-site training and things like that, I've done a lot of webinars. I've done a lot of FaceTime training because New York was locked down. We were supposed to all be in our homes. We were considered essential, but there were a lot of people in my territory that were not crazy about a New Yorker coming and joining them on a job site. So, you have to be sensitive to, that sort of mentality. And we were happy to get the job done remotely. Gave me and my wife time to work on our little backyard farm. And my yard has never looked better. And I think as far as the industry is concerned, I mean, I don't know any of my customers that have missed a beat through all this. And I think we're going to emerge pretty strong as a whole in the industry. So
100%. Yes, agreed.
Has anyone out there, what has been your COVID experience? Anyone that wants to, provide their story about how they've managed being locked down, by all means, unmute yourself and share your story. All right, I don't think we have any takers on that one, Danny.
Everyone's being shy. It's all good.
In my case, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got Jose coming in. How are you, Jose?
In my case here in BC, I guess things are pretty shut down, but slowly starting to open up again, and a lot of people have been working from home as well. So I definitely give some time. Personally, I just had a baby, so it's been good to be able to spend some more time with my newborn, I guess, by working from home.
That's really exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah. That is a benefit, you know. It's always nice when you can find a silver lining.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is we've started these webinars. We've had one pretty much every week over the last probably about 5 weeks, and we do find it's quite a good way to tell people about certain products that we feel very strongly about. So definitely plan to continue that even after things open up again.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we have had a similar experience, Danny. We have had record attendance for our NABCEP continuing education webinar. You know, codes and standards, and it's hosted by Milton Noguera, our senior business development manager. It's been fantastic. We have had so many great conversations with installers and engineers all over Canada and the States. So we've provided an opportunity for education, but we have actually learned so much during COVID just from getting into good conversations with, you know, guys are sitting at home, working at home, and people, you know, they find themselves on the phone, you know, talking to the geeks like us for 2 hours at a time. So it's been kind of cool, you know, and where you can find the silver linings, I think it's good to take them.
100%. Lots of conversations going on for sure. Everything from you know, connections to the roof to string inverters to solar panels and different technologies. It's been a lot of conversations, and I definitely think it's been a good thing to talk about these different products that are out there. Do you want to get started?
Yeah, actually, our attendees are for the most part here. So Danny, whenever you want to get started, we're good to go.
Yeah, let's get started. So welcome everyone that we haven't talked to yet, but really appreciate everyone showing up. We found that it's really important to talk about RoofTech and specifically the RTMini product that they have, and we've been carrying for a couple of years now. So that's what this webinar is about. We'll be talking about the product, the application, and best practices for using the RTMini. And I don't know if you're getting, Joe, if you're getting into the RT Air, the Air product, the Raila solution or not, but just know that there's also a Raila solution available from RoofTech that we're starting to look at as well. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I'm just going to go quickly over Frankensolar, and this is only going to take a couple of minutes. But I want to, most people attending this already know us and know what we do, but I want to quickly go over this. So Frankensolar, originally we started in Germany, in the Franken region of Germany, which is in Bavaria. And we've been doing solar since 1990, the early days of solar in Germany. In 2011, we moved to North America with our warehouse at the time in Mississauga. We since moved to Brampton, Ontario, and we also have a warehouse in Edmonton. Since 2011, we've supplied equipment to over 10,000 residential and commercial systems in Canada. So it's been quite a bit of success early on, and we've been very excited about working with a number or a lot of different companies. Seen some companies come and go, but as a whole, it's been really exciting to see the industry grow over the last 8 or 9 years. Currently, we have 15 full-time employees. All of them are located in Ontario, but we serve every province from coast to coast to coast. We've got companies in the Yukon, we've got companies in Northwest Territories, BC, all the way over to Nova Scotia that we work with. And it's really exciting to see the business, the solar industry develop over the last 8 or 9 years. So, and next slide, please. Our mission is assisting Canadian solar installers with designing high quality and competitively priced solar projects for every home and commercial building in Canada. What this means is we're not just the kind of company that wants to sell you just whatever product that you're asking for. Certainly, we have a really large portfolio of different products that we can help you with, but it's also about being an extension to your business and helping you become the best version of yourself. Next slide, please. What makes us different is we have relationships that have been built over the last 30 some odd years. For example, SMA, we've been an SMA distributor since 1990, Feronia since 1991. So lots of really long-standing relationships. We do have in-house engineering, electrical engineering with Alexander Wolf, who's super knowledgeable. So much information that he likes to share and help you design a system in the best way possible, especially on the electrical side, but also on the mechanical side as well. We do have a price list. I think we were the first solar company in Canada that had a price list, believe it or not. And that has only been for like 3 or 4 years. Before that, every project kind of got quoted separately. But we found that it was really important to have a price list and have standardized pricing. And we have one price list, unlike some other companies out there that have multiple price lists, and depending on how they feel, that's whatever price list you get. There's one price list with us. All installers get that price list. It's super competitive because we only have one price list. It has to be really competitive. And then one thing we just started about, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, we started offering free shipping for orders over $5,000. So anywhere in Southern Ontario, we will ship the equipment free of charge as long as your order is over $5,000. There are some exclusions in there. It can't be a flatbed truck, for example. So that's something that, so if you have like big ground mount racking, that probably wouldn't apply. But pretty much all the standard stuff, solar panels, normal racking, etc., would be under the will qualify as free shipping. Next slide, please. So RoofTech, why did I talked to, for those that were here early, Joe and I were talking about meeting up in Nova Scotia back in 2018 for the first time. And it's the first time I really learned about the product. And basically what sold myself and the rest of the Frankensolar team that this is a really good product is, first of all, they've been around for a very long time and they've been very successful in the Japanese market. I'm sure Joe will talk about it later. But also the fact that you can connect into the decking of the roof, it really gives us a lot of flexibility when we're installing on site, as opposed to having trusses and missing trusses and things like that, and having to pre-drill, etc. The RoofTech has been a great product, and pretty much from the beginning, we just tried it out on a few sites with customers, and the feedback was really positive. So at that point, we decided to have more and more stock, and they basically just fly off the shelf. So that's why we feel very strong about it. And the RTMini, which is where we're at now here with this slide, it really it works in high snow and wind loads. It's super flexible because you're getting into the decking as opposed to the substructure, and it still allows for a rail-based system, which is nice. It is top quality, as I mentioned, quite successful in Japan at the beginning, and then in North America as well. And it can be used with the HB flush mount that we use. but also it works with pretty much any rail-based racking solution that's out there. So yeah, at this point, I'll pass it back to Joe, and Joe, take her.
Thanks, Danny. So, you know, guys, I'm just going to be the first one to say it. Despite all the practice that I've had running the webinars during COVID, I'm still not great at it. I'm good at training solar. The computer is kind of my friend, but it's a tenuous relationship at best. So, Danny, I really appreciate it. You guys have been a great partner for us. Tons of support coming from Frankensolar's team. You know, and they've got a whole crew that is, you know, demonstrated that they are, you know, for the customer. The single price list, the competitive pricing. We felt really strongly about our partnership because, you know, we believe in transparency. That's one of the biggest values that we have as an organization, and it seems to be a translating theme with Frankensolar. So it was a natural friendship, and definitely has been a good partnership. So I'm going to start today off by giving a little background on RoofTech. Some of you may have already been made familiar with our beginnings and where we've been, our engineering and testing, our product line, and then we're going to get into some best practice and frequently asked questions. And then we'll open the floor back up in case you guys have any questions about application or engineering or anything like that. So we are, as Danny said, one of the old school solar companies. We started in '94 when the Japanese solar industry approached us, Yanagiken, to develop a way to attach solar PV modules in a retrofit onto rooftops, which, you know, was a new idea. So Yanagiken is a 55-year-old, you know, manufacturer of roofing technologies, everything from fasteners to underlayment to tile to shingle. So there was a natural, you know, a natural relationship right away. If you're going to do rooftop solar, let's get the roofing industry involved. With that said, we provided the module manufacturers with rooftop solutions that they provided in an OEM fashion. The Japanese solar industry is a little bit different than here in North America. Everything is sold as a package. So when you bought Panasonic modules or Sanyo modules, you were getting Sanyo racking and Sanyo microinverter. You know, it was all packaged and warranted as one, which was a really strong method. And the Japanese residential solar market flourished under this model. It wasn't until just this year, actually about a month ago, that the Japanese government had discontinued their solar rebate program. At this point, the industry is strong enough that it can self-sustain. There's still a lot of movement in the commercial realm, but residential had leveled off because there's just fewer Japanese. So, you know, the industry has contracted a little bit. It's good news for North America because my colleagues in Aichi, Japan, that are developing rooftop residential solutions are now all focused on North America. So in the coming years, you're going to see more innovations quicker because we just have more bodies and minds developing solutions for our market. So we're really excited about that. Like I said, in Aichi, Japan, our headquarters, Yanagiken has a facility that we do all of our testing and engineering. It is a robust testing facility, mechanical load testing, carbon arc to synthesize the aging process, high intensity blowers, salt spray. We also have outdoor facilities. So we have sections of land by the sea, in the mountains, and in the urban settings where we mount our products and wait. When I say wait, I mean like wait 30 years. Our technologies have not changed since its first iteration. The RT Butyl and the aluminum base have remained unchanged, as well as the double helix fasteners that we use in our products have remained unchanged since 1994. And those were all materials that we had borrowed from our roofing industry and brought right into solar. So it makes it strong, it makes it robust, and it makes it something that stands the test of time. As you've mentioned, either you know RoofTech or you don't, we do things a little bit different. Rather than using an 8mm or 5/16 lag going into the rafter, we utilize a 3/16 or 5mm wood screw. That provides you with a much better opportunity, a much higher percentage of placing that fastener onto a structural member in the sweet spot, that center 61%. Because anything outside of that center 61% would not necessarily provide you with a sound structural value, right? And that is a much smaller margin when you're looking at that 1/2 inch lag. You've got 37% of that rafter to hit compared to 61%. Substantial difference. Like I said with our butyl, that butyl gets driven through, whether you're going into the rafter or you're attaching to the decking. Our RT butyl has been around since the beginning of our roofing business. Butyl was a common material to use for roofing. It's hydrophobic, it's malleable, and it lasts a long time. The RT butyl is proprietarily our own. This is not the same butyl or mastic or anything that you could buy at a home improvement store. This is developed by us and produced by us, and that difference is, I'll leave it to the tail of the tape. We have a 25-year plus service life. Some of our first systems from '94 are still in service. So we've got 26 years of leak-free performance with over 100 million roof penetrations worldwide, with about 20 million of those being in the United States alone. We've had maybe 5 calls for leaks, and those 5 calls for leaks out of 100,000 or 100 million roof penetrations have been with people that were fairly careless. The one we've had in North America, the installer self-admittedly installed our bases on top of ice. So it was destined to fail. But with that said, we went out, we evaluated the site, we had a candid conversation with the installer, and we spent a couple days making sure that the entire staff had been retrained on how to properly install. Now, with that said, our RT butyl has a temperature threshold of -40 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -40 Celsius to 176 Celsius. It's a pretty wide range, and that means that butyl will not bleed or melt or seep. It will not change shape, nor will it stop doing its job within those temperature ranges. And that is substantial. Besides your store-bought butyl only lasting about 12 years, the temperature range at which it will perform is much more narrow than ours. So, you know, there's a lot of people, they say that imitation is the highest form of flattery. And we've had some imitators in the industry, and we are very flattered. But we also hope that people come back to the original when they try and don't see the same quality in those products that they get at RoofTech. So that has been the case more times than not. A lot of our first adopters are people who were interested in flexible flashing and saw, like, there was an article just put out by Solar Builder that talked about flexible flashing and all the innovations coming from that. We get a lot of calls from people that tried other products and said, we looked at RoofTech and we wanted to use RoofTech and we decided to use someone else, and we just didn't like it. And we're happy to accommodate and share some of our understanding of the industry and make sure that their program, their installation program, is what they want it to be. Our RT Butyl is also resistant to mildew, acids, alkalis, and salts, and it contains no organic solvents, so it won't break down, even within 70 years. The application ambient temperature is 22 degrees Fahrenheit to 176. This is a little bit misleading. Ambient temperature is, even when it's, 0 degrees Fahrenheit, on top of that roof, because of the heat in the home advancing to the roof and the UV radiation, the roof is not regularly below 22 degrees. And with that said, we do recommend that you just take a heat gun and just where the penetrations are going to be, and that is for two reasons. One, you want to have the surface warm enough to accept a penetration. You don't want to crack shingles, because we do a top-down attachment method. You wouldn't want the fastener that you're penetrating the shingles to crack or break those shingles. So adding a little heat is not necessarily just on our product, it's for the integrity of the roof, because that is our number one priority, maintaining the integrity of the roof. That's why we go out of our way to test and engineer great products that we then send to third-party organizations. ICC, the International Code Council, evaluated all of our products, and specifically all of our products containing the RT Butyl, and it is a certified flexible flashing. So when people look at our product, they say, you don't trust something that doesn't have flashing. Well, that's good to hear, because I wouldn't trust something that didn't have flashing either. The only difference is that our flashing is a flexible flashing, and is actually bonding with all the layers of that roof surface. As Danny mentioned, we have a couple new products coming out that we will be showcasing this year. We'll be showcasing once some of the conferences and shows in Canada reopen. You'll get a chance to see things like the roof entry bracket. This is a niche product that we are really excited about. Like all of our products, you can install the RT roof entry bracket on asphalt or metal roof. So as a pass-through, it's a pretty elegant pass-through solution for metal roof. For asphalt, personally, I like something with a combiner box so that you can turn them off before you enter into the roof. I think that's pretty valuable for most of the contractors that I've talked to also. However, jumping from array to array on a single project, a dormer to a main array, these do offer some flexibility. So definitely worth a look, and we are excited about it. The star of the show, the RT Mini, has been an amazing product for us. It's gotten people really comfortable with our attachment technology. The flexibility of being able to hit the rafter or the decking, to be able to keep using whatever L-foot and rail you're comfortable and like using. Really all you get away from is prying up shingles and, having to patch holes when you miss a rafter. What's beautiful about the RT Mini is, I tell all my customers, aim for the rafter, because that's your most cost-effective attachment method. 2 screws on the north and south, hole. And if you don't feel that north center screw bite into the rafter, then you just simply add 4 more screws to the outside, and that one is a deck attachment. And with it being so close to the rafter, you're still getting the engineering and structural value as you would with a rafter connection. And so there's no compromise to the integrity of the system that you're putting up. So even on 75-pound snow load areas like northern New Brunswick, you're still able to have the flexibility of not putting errant holes in your customer's roof. All of our products have pre-stamped engineering for 0 to 45 degrees. And actually, I'm going to immediately retract that statement. All of our products, except for one, have pre-stamped engineering for 0 to 45 degrees. Our newest entrant into the product line, the roof entry bracket, obviously cannot be put on a flat roof because there is a big honking hole where wires are going to go. So we wouldn't want water that would pool to be able to seep in there. So we do require a minimum of a 312 pitch for the roof entry bracket. However, all of our other racking solutions are able to be used on a flat roof, as well as 45 degrees with our pre-stamped engineering. If you needed something to, if you had an application that is a 60 degree, or you were going to do a solar wall at 90 degrees, you would need a site-specific engineering evaluation. You wouldn't be able to use our what we have pre-stamped. However, if you run into one of those situations, you always have an open door with the RoofTech team. Send us what you're looking to do, and we can provide whatever information you need to your engineering team to make sure that they can get this project approved for you. The beauty of our attachment is that it's foolproof, or oops proof, we like to say. You aim for the rafter. If that thing is dancing around underneath that decking, and you put that first screw in, it misses. Now you can do a deck attachment, and you're not removing anything. So there's a lot of time saving. You're no longer prying shingles. You're not pre-drilling. You're not pre-caulking. And all of this is with a waterproof base that is pretty much the same price. And I'm sure Danny can provide you with the information, but it's the same price as a typical flash kit. So it really is, like Danny said, a no-brainer. It's revolutionized flush mount racking for rail and L-foot, everywhere from the Yukon Territory all the way down to the tip of Florida, where we have hurricane winds. So extreme snow conditions and extreme tropical weather, all covered by the same product. Pretty amazing. Your packaging for the RT Minis, 20 come in a box. You have 10 pieces of additional butyl. The additional butyl would be used for shimming. Say you needed to make your connection where 2 shingle courses meet. You can shim up with that extra piece of butyl, and we'll cover that in just a minute. And you're going to get 40 M5 by 60 millimeter wood screws. These 3/16 or 5 millimeter wood screws are, what comes in the box will have you ready to go for rafter installation. Additional screws will be necessary if you're going to use a deck attachment, or would just like to have some extra in case of drops or missed rafters. The RT Mini in action is a beautiful thing. Teams like it. People, when they try it, they typically gravitate to it. They bring it on as a boutique solution for that weird job. The crews try it, they love it. They end up using the RT Mini for their entire program. Your guys on the roof, they're going to love not having to pry up shingles anymore, not having to cut shingles. I mean, it just makes a difficult job. And this is from a guy, I was just on a 3-story roof, a 31-degree pitch, being up there laying down, RoofTech mounting products. whole lot easier than being up there popping shingles. The guys were really appreciating our technology today. Here in New York and New Jersey, it's been about 90 degrees with 90% humidity this past week, and with it being the first week that I could be back out on the road with a level of confidence, my calendar has been full with trainings and demos. Like Danny said, we have a new Raila System out, and it's been very popular. And so I've got a pretty steady mix of people looking to bring on the RTMini and the Apex. The RTMini, like Danny said, is super flexible. You've got anywhere you need to put a connection on the roof. Like say you have a pesky rafter, and it just where the rafter and the module meet up just doesn't work for the cantilever allowed by your AHJ. That is a great opportunity for you to just put an RTMini down on the decking and fit another column of modules on that project. It really does end up making a difference. Oh, and this also can be used for a conduit mount, which is quite convenient. I have installers here, that actually cut the Mini in half with a bandsaw when they're using them for conduit mounts, because there's no structural value necessary for a conduit mount. You do not need to maintain the integrity of this unit when it is used to support conduit. I tell guys, you can use it, you throw 2 screws in, and you have a conduit, and 1 Mini is good for, two conduit mounts. So pretty versatile, and for those things that don't require a structural letter, it's simple aluminum, so it's easy to cut through with your bandsaw. Nova Scotia in 2018, I went on a project with Solar Global Solutions. This was a monster 45 pitch, like 2-story home that sat on top of a hill. So when you were up on the roof, it felt like you were about, you were probably flying Air Canada out to Calgary. That's how high up you were. It was a very clean install. They installed HP flush mounts on top of Minis. They were using a rafter and deck attachment, which there's engineering for that hybrid attachment. So you can get your span numbers pretty easily by taking the span for your rafter and the span for your decking, which can be found in our pre-stamped engineering tables for the provinces you live in. And you take those and you find the average of those 2 attachments. And by attaching to rafter deck, alternating those attachment points, you can use the average of those spans, therefore giving you ultimate flexibility. This is a typical installation. I mean, this is where having an ease of installation counts. A 45-degree pitch, way up high off the ground, and you're still able to conquer pretty high snow loads and wind speed. And that I drove by that project after the hurricane had passed last year. I wanted to see if all of my RoofTech projects that I knew of were looking good, and all of them were still square and no damage. So I was really happy about that. The RTMini being ICC certified, it provides a level of confidence when you're submitting your paperwork for permits. Our engineering is robust. We leave no stone unturned. There's no gray areas. There's no question marks. If you can't find it on our website, the supporting documentation you need for your permitting purposes, we always are available to help get your project approved. The RTMini does not need to be UL listed because there is no connection to the electrical aspect of the array. It's just like an L-foot in that matter. The cantilever and maximum rail length between thermal splice is definitely based on your manufacturer. I know HB, I want to say is 14 feet. Dan, you can probably correct me on that. Yeah, it's with that splice, you want to use splices. You want to make sure you're following what the rail manufacturer calls for splices, because thermal expansion and contraction can really wreak havoc on a solar array. The 2 bolt slots, you'll notice here, the top diagram shows the M8 5/16 hex bolt channel that you would use with your L-foot. The top is a 1/4 inch hex, and that would be used for your conduit connections or your conduit supports or any other items that you have on the roof. That can also be used to support your electrical devices that are complementary to your array. With that said, no pilot holes. I repeat, no pilot holes, guys. We do not need to spend extra time on the roof. All of our engineering tables have cut sheets at the back. So you're going to get the letter from the engineer, all of your span charts, cut sheets, and all of the appendices of how to install and the different scenarios, and as well as the methodology that our engineering team used to achieve these numbers. So everything it's about transparency. Pretty simple installation. The installation manuals can all be found online. Fairly easy stuff. When I get asked to go out and train people on the Mini, crews oftentimes are like, wait, my boss seriously asked you to come show me how to do this? And it's a big joke that, people will send me to train their staff because they feel the guys deserve lunch, which, I have achieved the nickname in Massachusetts and New Jersey as Uncle Joey. When I come on a job site, if anyone's ever met me, they know that I'm not. I fear no food, and the guys they recognize that immediately, and they're always aiming for. They're like, "Oh, you're a Japanese company? Can we do sushi today?" I'm like, "No, we're gonna do hoagies." It's always a good time, and I try to bring an atmosphere of fun and high energy. Even when I go to train something as simple as the RTMini, where truly all you need to master to install the RTMini correctly is A, you need to be able to read, B, you need to be able to run a tape measure, and 3, you need to be able to operate an impact driver. It's really that easy. You snap some lines, create crosshairs. You find your rafters and you apply. Now here on the metal roof, I said that it wasn't necessary to make pilot holes. There is a caveat. On your metal roofs, you're going to want to punch or pre-drill. Not that our screws cannot penetrate that, but the spinning of the screw to get through the metal, because it will take a moment for the screw to pierce the metal, the screw will actually spin the butyl away from the penetration, making it not certain that the butyl will actually travel with the screw through the different layers of the roof. So we do recommend, and it is in our installation manual, that on metal roof, you pre-punch or pre-drill your penetrations. This is an example of the span charts that you would find. This is the version we have for the U.S. The version for the provinces are right in the same section, and they look just a little bit different because our Canadian engineers just use different fonts and colors, but it's pretty simple stuff. You find your snow load, you find the wind speed that you have to achieve, your roof pitch, your exposure category, and then finally your roof area, and you will find your spans. We do all of our span charts are now in inches rather than feet. We were getting a lot of false zero values because anything less than 24 inches, the typical rafter spacing, would get a 0. So that was very misleading because that was actually a value. And if you had a 16-inch off-center rafter spacing, that wouldn't be a 0. So we moved over to inches, and it's made a big difference and cleared up a lot of confusion for some folks. But really easy stuff. If you ever want to dive deeper into looking at our engineering letters, we'll be happy to walk you through it. Sample PV module installation instructions. It's all about looking at the installation manual for all of the components in your system, making sure you know where the clamping zones are for your module, making sure you know what the optimal rail lengths and splices are for your rails, knowing the installation procedures for your flush mounts, because you want to make sure that you're not racing to the bottom. You want to make sure that your methodology in installing this system, you're maintaining all of those warranties that will help you guarantee a high level of quality for your customers and your continued success in your business. So, it takes a little extra time, but, making sure that things are torqued to the right spec and that are placed in the right place really makes a big difference. So specifically in our installation manual, we have a maximum span of 8 feet. That's in optimal conditions. I don't know that there's anywhere in Canada that we can achieve that span. However, regardless of what we're able to span, you want to make sure that your rails are going to support whatever you're hoping to achieve. In Canada, I believe that any span that you'd be looking for would be figured out. Again, your AHJ, your authority having jurisdiction, is the law of the land, and we all have to follow that. But if you ever have an AHJ that's asking questions that you feel are pretty well spelled out by us, and you just need some support in that conversation, again, we are happy to help out. Now, let's talk about installation. You've got, a shingle course, and you have to put that base right where the shingles are all meeting. It's really as easy as 1, 2, 3. The additional butyl that we add into the boxes for each base can be used as a shim to provide a level space, a level position for your mount to be placed. Once you peel off the butyl, I definitely recommend cutting the butyl with the paper on, peeling off one side of the paper, laying it on the shingle, and then peeling off, kind of like you would with a vinyl sticker. As you can see, your lowest point, number 1, is going to get the first piece. Your second lowest point, number 2, is going to get an additional piece. Now, the third piece, and this is on an extreme like architectural shingle, and this is if you didn't want to cut any pieces of shingle, which, my guys typically, people I talk to, they'll do a combination. They on those dimensional shingles or architectural shingles, that upper tab is really just aesthetic, and sometimes can just easily be nipped off. So they'll do that and then lay a little butyl on if there's a depression somewhere. But you can go to 4 to 5 layers of butyl to shim this up, and it works out really well. The history of RoofTech has always been, very Japanese. And what I mean by that is there's a certain ethos that we follow. It's about efficiency. It's about the conservation of materials. And we believe in doing more with less. there's no need to have, 1,000 pounds of material on a roof if all you need is 300. And we very much spend our time, well, our engineering department, that is, and design team, they very much spend their time thinking, how do we do this better? How do we reduce the amount of materials needed to energize our world? How can we make it easier for installers to manage the equipment necessary to do their job? And that's why we develop products the way we do. From the start, we were always a railless company. In the beginning days of RoofTech, RoofTech Solar, that is, we began with mounts that were mated right to the module, and that was USET Solar. We brought that to the States. People weren't crazy about it, so we started developing other rails products. Our first iteration, the Gen 1 E-mount, was a 1-inch base where the modules rested right on there, and clamps were slid in and then torqued down to that. It was a great system, but leveling was a little tricky, and there were some aspects of it that didn't lend well to higher snow loads like what you have in Canada. It's very specific regions that you can do decking only for the entire project. Like I was talking about our hybrid attachment, rafter deck, that changes the game a bit, and we do get better values, expanding what we can do with railless in Canada. Our Gen 1 and Gen 2 have been very popular in Canada. We have, it's actually, people are using more Gen 2 railless in Canada than they are in the US right now, which is fantastic. We love it. But we are going to be slowing down our Gen 2 railless program. We are limited now to 3 sets of clamps, 32, 35, and 40 millimeter clamps, because we're making way for our Generation 3 RT Apex. The RT Apex is a pretty great product. It's all the best stuff in railless right now. You've got your universal clamping, so everything from 32 to 40 millimeters, which actually will be expanded to 30 millimeters to 40 millimeters universal clamping. That's probably due out in September. We have snap-in installation, easy leveling, and of course our integrated flexible flashing that provides that waterproof connection to the roof every time. Everything is covered with a 25-year warranty. That's your mechanical attachment to the system, as well as your mounting to the roof. That's water intrusion, mechanical attachment, and the overall function and the products being free from defects. We have a one-tool design, one-step leveling, really makes it a robust system. And because of how we've designed this system, it's a breeze to install in high snow loads. When this is released for the Canadian market in 2021, you will be able to use this pretty much anywhere in Canada, up to 75 pounds of snow load. So we're really excited, and we're looking forward to 2021 when we can get on some roofs and show you what the RT Apex can do. The versatility of railless is great. Reduces shipping costs. I know shipping is a big deal. That's why the team at Frankensolar decided to move to a free shipping in Ontario on those orders 5,000 or more, because shipping matters. Anywhere that you can save, you should do so, because it makes a difference to your long-term success strategy. With railless, your shipping footprint is minimal. I believe I have a Subaru Forester, and I can fit about 25 kW of equipment into my Forester. That's skirts and everything. So pretty awesome, awesome system. Rails has some advantages. You're definitely spreading out your point loading rather than having one attachment per 10 to 8 feet of rail, or 2 attachments per 8 feet of rail. You're having several, and so there's a more distributed weight on the roof, therefore less opportunity for any kind of structural damage. This is a project that we demoed out in Colorado. Pretty cool little system. The small BOM, you've got bases, mid clamps, splices, end clamps, screws, skirt, and additional pads of butyl. We were working with Solaria modules, and the finished product came out great. This one was cool because there was a flat roof that was mated to about a 20-degree pitch roof, so we were able to do 4 points of connection. The system came out really easy. 4 points of connection isn't necessary. We do have splices that can be floating or supported. So there's a lot of combinations to how we can, rack these modules now. By the different attachment methods and the different racking strategies, the RT Apex is super versatile. Staggered arrays with 4 points of connection, super easy. This one was all on the deck. We didn't do, I don't think we did one rafter connection on here. So it was, we could put that array anywhere on the roof we wanted to. Your installation teams have the freedom to make their way around an obstruction on the roof that maybe wasn't in the plan set. This is a diagram showing how the floating splices would be incorporated in. So you would have your bases and clamps on the rafters, and by utilizing splices, you're now turning your modules into the rails themselves, and therefore you get the strength necessary to use railless in the Canadian climate. This is just going over how the corner clamping works. We're going to breeze through some of this. I talked about the hybrid attachment method, combining the rafter and deck tables. Really simple stuff. You take your value if you're attaching to the rafter. You find your utilizing the span charts with your ground snow, your exposure, your roof zone, your wind speed. You find your span. Then if it's OSB or plywood or plank for that matter, you find those values on those charts, and then you take the average of those, and that would be your span. So for example, a rafter attachment every 45 inches or 61 inches, and a plywood attachment every 22 to 24. So that would make your 35 off center or 42 off center with the SD set screw. Our waterproofing testing goes to a large degree. In-house, we do a 90-day submersion test where all of our products have to sit in 4-degree water for 90 days. We also freeze and thaw these tests as well. And if a new product doesn't pass, then it doesn't go to market. And this is something that we do in-house just to assure that we're putting the best possible products out into the world. I want to move into the warranty now, because you're not just buying a flash kit from RoofTech. You're not just buying a railless solution from RoofTech. When you are utilizing RoofTech products, you're also buying a certain sense of peace of mind, knowing that you've got a high quality attachment that offers a warranty on those products for 25 years. And it's backed by a 55-year-old roofing manufacturer that's the largest and oldest in Japan. So we're not going anywhere. We're completely bankable, scalable solution for all of these things. And we've put our money where our mouth is for 26 years in solar attachment. And so when people look at our warranty, they'll notice something very clearly. And I encourage you all to go on our website and download the warranty. It's a simple PDF, a one-page PDF. And you'll notice one thing immediately. It was written by lawyers. You know, like everything else, legal has their final say on what we publish. And so it's definitely, you know, lawyer speak, just like any other warranty. So I just wanted to cut through some of that with you guys because we get a lot of questions. Does the warranty cover leaks? Yes, it does. It covers what is filling the hole that you've made, you know? So what we cover is water intrusion, we cover mechanical attachment, and how we say we cover that is that the product should be free of defects. The only way that you can make a RoofTech product leak is one, install it incorrectly, or two, if we sent you a defective product. In the history of my time with RoofTech, 3 years now, we've never had a defective product. We've had millions of minis go on the roof. We've never had a defective product. And for the 23 years before I got here, we never had a defective product. So, you know, it's important to read the installation manual. That way you know you're covered. That way you know that warranty is going to be protecting you. What's not covered? Your workmanship. You know, I would love to be able to extend, you know, that workmanship, but that's just not what we can do. You know, people ask what's covered. You're covering making the hole, and we're covering what fills that hole. And that's the simplest way that I can answer that question. You know, definitely, you know, a company that stands behind their work, you've got to warranty your workmanship. We make that easy for you because our products are so easy to use. And that's why people gravitate to us, because it's very difficult to get these products to fail. How you can void the warranty is by not following the instruction manual. If you don't follow the instruction manual, you're really opening up yourself to the liability of that failure. So I encourage you all to, you know, come to our NAPSEP webinar, get on the phone with myself, send me an email. I'm happy to do web trainings. I'm happy to do on-site trainings when we're allowed to travel freely again. And you know, I really enjoy spending that time, not just because I like, you know, buying lunch for the crew and eating lunch with the crew, but because I really like to see people energized by a company that makes their tough job just that little bit easier. And that's the difference that we bring to the table. So the RT Butyl, it becomes one with the roof. And, you know, before people, again, for the ethical treatment of animals, stopped us from putting goldfish in the tank with our RoofTech flashing, we used to always have a fishbowl with a bunch of holes at the bottom that we filled with a RoofTech product. But that is not ethical treatment, and we don't want to contaminate the water that those fish are swimming in. So we don't do that anymore. Now we just have water. But those fish wouldn't have lasted long if they were on a conventional flashing. A metal flashing is just another shingle and is not waterproof. You can make anything watertight, but that's so long as that torque is undisturbed. And I tell people regularly that watertight is an installation term. It's not a qualitative term. And so with that said, it's all about being waterproof and having that waterproof proven. You know, and that's what we've done for 26 years in the solar industry. So I am really happy that you guys spent some time with us today. I encourage you to contact us if you need anything, you want to know more. If you're interested in being one of the contractors that tries out the RT Mini or the RT Apex when we bring it to the Canadian market, spring of 2021, you know, we're starting to get those conversations started, because before you know it, it will be spring 2021. I know we got a long, hot summer and fall ahead of us, but and a lot of work to do in that time. But you know, nothing like preparing well in advance. So with that said, if you guys want to open up your, turn on your mic if you have a question or comment. We've got Peter actually just came on Peter, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we were looking at the railless design, do you guys integrate a bracket that can mount optimizers as well?
So optimizers and microinverters. That's a really good question. So what we would do, we would utilize our other brackets for those. The RTMini
Okay.
can be used for this, as well as the Gen 2 E-mount Air. I have some customers that love railless, and they use 2-to-1 microinverters from AP Systems, and they're just
Okay.
massive, right? So they're not able to be supported by the Rails bracket itself. We encourage them to use a separate bracket to mount those larger equipment.
Okay, no, that's
Good
clear.
question.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just another quick question I put in the report. Are you able to provide a copy of this presentation?
Oh, sure. The NABSTEP presentation is a lot more informative, but I am happy. I can turn this into a PDF if you want to email me, and that way I have your email. Oh, I have your email address from your registration. So yeah, I can send out a PDF of this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Peter. Does anyone else want to jump into the conversation? We're happy to have you.
Hey, Joe, just a correction. One of the things that you said was that we have free shipping in Ontario at Frankensolar.
Yes.
And actually, it's free shipping across the country.
Oh,
With the
apologize. I thought it was Ontario.
No. It's everywhere. With the exception of the territories, which are very, very far away. But then what we do a lot of times, for example, a customer we have in the Yukon, we would ship to Edmonton for them, and then they will pick it up from there to reduce the shipping costs.
Well, that's fantastic, Danny. I did not realize that. I thought it was just in Ontario. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been pretty well received so far. So it's something that we figured was a big headache for companies to figure out the cost of shipping on every order and stuff like that. And this way, it's way easier for them to know how much the product actually costs landed to site.
The shipping, so that is an aspect of this business that I willfully remove myself from. We have people that handle it, and there's so much that goes into logistics, and I'm sure our customers are, they definitely it probably causes a headache. So it's huge that you guys offer that free shipping. I don't really know anyone else that does that. So, I mean, that's big, Danny.
It's something we've taken over from Germany, actually. It's Alexander, our in-house electrical engineer. He's dealt with a number of companies in Germany that offer it. So he thought it was a really, really big sales feature for, to know the cost of the equipment landed. So that's why we, after long deliberation, decided to start doing that. One of the other things that I thought of too, when it comes to optimizer mounting, sometimes depending on what optimizer you're using, for example, Tygo optimizers can be mounted straight to the frame of the panels. They have it just clips into the panel frame. So in that case, you wouldn't need a special mounting with the Raila solution. But it really comes down to which solution.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. It's just there's such a wide range of sizes, shapes, and weights.
Absolutely.
For me, the easiest answer is you throw it on another base. But if you're using optimizers or microinverters that can mount to the frame, that's what I always recommend that for wire management as well. When you're using L-foot and rail, obviously it's nice to attach your wire management to your wires right to the rail. But for railless, the best solution that I have seen is S-clips with the wires mounted right onto the module. I mean, it's so simple. It's like, why overcomplicate things? Why bring in another piece of equipment when what you've got will already do it? So it's
Correct.
yeah, there's a lot of simple solutions out there, and putting things on that module frame, so long as it doesn't compromise the integrity of the module or their warranty.
Correct.
That's the big thing. Is I always tell people, they're like, hey, can I do that with a Canadian solar module or whatever module they're using? And they're like, will Q cells let me do that? And I tell them, I'm like, well, you'll have to call Q cells, because I know those guys, but I can't answer for them. I don't think they'd like that. I could answer for them, but I don't think it would work. So, does anyone out there have any more questions? Also, Peter brought up a good point with the presentation. If I'm not just going to send this to everyone, if you'd like a copy of the presentation, just shoot me an email and I'll send it to them rather than blasting it out to everyone. Yeah, it's probably the easiest way to do it. Danny, did you have anything else you wanted to share with the group?
No, I really appreciate you doing this with us today, Joe. It's been very informative, and hope to do this again sometime soon. Really appreciate your time. But if nobody else has any more questions,
yeah, I'd just like to ask Joe
Okay.
a quick question just regarding the deck mounting. So
Sure.
in one installation or one kind of photo, you said it needed to be located more or less on either side of a rafter, or can it be basically placed anywhere on the decking?
It can be placed anywhere on the decking. When I talk about the RTMini on a deck mount being near a rafter and getting that structural value, that's my recommendation, and what I tell people. Your most cost-effective attachment is to the rafter. And what I always tell people is put that north center screw in, and if you don't feel it bite, throw in the other screws. Now, if you're just planning on a deck attachment, by all means, you can put that anywhere, and the values that you find in our span charts will 100%, regardless if it's an inch from the rafter or 8 to 12 inches from the rafter, you're still going to get that same value.
Okay, yeah, that was more what I was wondering, just because I've been using another system that was just complete deck mount, and been looking, and I wasn't certain exactly how the Butyl worked, because I've been skeptical from a roofing perspective of having exposed fasteners, but just learning a bit more about the Butyl itself, it seems like it's a lot better than anything else I've ever heard of.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that Butyl was the industry standard in roofing for 100 years. But the most expensive part of our product is actually the Butyl itself. Like the RTMini, I think the breakdown is 70-30 between the aluminum and the Butyl. So that's really where the key of the technology is. And the from a roofing perspective, the Butyl is one of the closest substances that you can have when especially if you're dealing with asphalt shingle. There's 100% compatibility between Butyl rubber and asphalt. As compared to like EPDM. EPDM exposed to asphalt over time will actually erode or corrode, the asphalt and cause it to break down. So Butyl is kind of a great substance, because it can be used on EPDM and it can be used on asphalt pretty much interchangeably. Whereas EPDM and asphalt kind of have that incompatibility. Ours is what kind of branches the two together. The decking screws that we provide, the double helix wood screws, Those two are specific to our system. We use the double helix screws so that it will drag more butyl per millimeter through that penetration, and yeah, it's worked flawlessly. And yeah, if whenever you're ready to make the switch, we welcome you, Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very much for that.
And Bruce, pretty much everyone that is using the product here in Canada that I know of is using it as a deck attachment method, and that's basically what they're doing. We always sell the extra screws with it, with each unit, because that's really how it's being used. They don't usually go into the rafters; they go into the decking.
Yeah, well, I've just been hesitant to put anything into a rafter. Just you don't know if you're drilling into a knot. There's a lot of unknowns to me that seem scary. Whereas a deck mount that has appropriate caulking and butyl seems like the ultimate solution.
Yeah,
correct. 100% agree, and I think that's why we made the switch as well, for the most part, from a flashing solution. And we still offer a flashing solution from HB. It's a very good product, and it's definitely watertight, but it's just way easier to go into the decking and have that flexibility.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Just real quick, sorry, this is Peter again. Those fasteners, it sounds like they're a unique fastener, so you guys offer them there. It's not something that could typically be found at a roofing store if you were in a pinch.
So I'm glad that you bring that up. The difference between, there's fasteners out there that may look like RoofTech and be the same series steel, the whole 9 yards. The difference would be with quality control. With having a 25-year water intrusion warranty, we're really particular about the fasteners. So to maintain your warranty, you're going to want to use the genuine RoofTech, 5 by 60 millimeter wood screw. And I know it sucks, and I've had so many people email me over the years like, hey, they ran out of screws at the supply house, and I found these screws at my local roofing store. Can I use these? And I'm like, I wish I could say yes, but you will void that warranty. But real quick, Peter and Bruce both were bringing up the wood screws, and afraid of having the heads snap off. I was just in New Jersey for a demo install of the new Apex system, and guys are using their torque wrenches their impact drivers, to set the wood screws into the roof. And if you have a high torque setting on that, you do run the risk of snapping off a head. The beauty of it is, if you snap that head off, you're not losing any of the waterproofing, because the waterproofing is happening below the head of that screw. The EPDM washer on the underside of the metal washer on that screw is just a cushion. It provides no waterproofing. All of that waterproofing that's happening is the butyl being driven by the screw through the roof surfaces. So what's nice is that those penetrations, even if the head snapped off, they're waterproof. You may want to add additional screws to make sure that the strength, of holding that base to the roof is there. But from a leak perspective, you're covered. And I think I had Phil he was going to ask a question. Well, the mic was off anyway. Phil, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I think Phil had to, he's my partner. I think he had to go to a site review, so I don't think he's further on at this point. It's Phil McNee you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Phil. Could you say that again?
No, I don't believe Phil is on the line anymore. I think he's gone to a business meeting that we had. He's my partner.
Oh, okay.
I had one quick question though. When this is Kyle Big Rock talking, actually, I'm working with Pete and Phil as their installer. So when you were talking with the metal roof, you're talking about pre-drilling or punching.
Right.
Is there a specific size of pre-drill relative to the size of the fastener to basically ensure the butyl penetration works real well?
So very good question. My preferred method is to make a blank of the hole pattern on the Mini, and then what I would do is literally use a punch rather than a drill. That's just me.
So you're just looking to perforate the metal.
Yep.
And allow the tip of the screw to get in without having to break that barrier itself.
Right. And sometimes it doesn't even penetrate. It weakens the metal enough so that wood screw can penetrate quicker.
Right.
Because when it's just sitting there spinning, it spins the butyl out. But if you were going to use a drill to pre-drill that metal, we do recommend a 3 millimeter diameter on that drill bit.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the roof we're looking at is it's not a standing seam metal. It's like the pressed artificial shingle with the rolled seam on the front end.
Okay.
So it looks like a metal shingle, but it has like a texture to it.
That's right.
Oh, are you out west?
No, in Ontario.
In Ontario. So we get those metal tiles very infrequently. We actually have a specific mount for metal tile. Yeah, we're just bringing it into the North American market now. I actually have a New Jersey company and a California company doing their first installs with it coming up this next month. But yeah, that's part of our commercial series that we're bringing in. And because the Mini, the way that those metal roof tiles, and I don't know if this is your scenario, but they have a really pronounced profile where there's no real good place to place there's no good position to place that Mini where it's going to get a nice seal to it. Is that kind of what you guys are working with, or?
It's not a super aggressive profile to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This one's not. It's not the worst one I've ever seen.
I can mention something real quick. I do know on this roof that metal, those metal shingles were placed over the existing conventional shingle. So there is an additional underlaying, but I don't know if that makes any difference.
No, I don't know that it would, because the problem would be with the void created between the metal and the asphalt shingle,
Mm-hmm.
And voids of materials are what are generally going to provide you guys with a headache, and everyone in the industry, really. I mean, from a manufacturer standpoint, when people call me, they're like, "Hey, what about this funky roof? Have you ever seen this before?" And I'm like, "Yeah, run." Because like those metal tile roofs, like when I had a Jersey installer contact me about that metal tile roof, and he said, "What do you think about this?" I said, "You want my honest opinion?" And of course he did. And I gave it to him. I said, "Don't touch it." I said, "Those projects are so labor intensive that you can get the project done. It's just it's such a headache because the way that those metal tiles, like you said, the way those seams kind of overlap, you end up having to pull so much of that roof up just to put your penetrations in. It's a headache in terms of from a labor standpoint.
Okay, are you any? Then you do have a mounting solution that we should be looking at then specifically?
Yeah, why don't you guys shoot me an email with as much information on that roof as you can, and like I said, we're bringing those brackets in. Like I've got a shipment of those coming from Japan now. So I can hopefully pull some of those for you guys. So throw me an email and we will figure out. We'll see if it will work. You know, we'll get it taken care of.
Okay, Joe, I'll send you an email right now then, and then just so you've got my email, you understand who it is, and I'll ask the client to give me any information he's got specifically on that roof.
Yeah, it would be awesome if you had the manufacturer of the manufacturer and the model of that roof would help tremendously. Because the metal tile brackets that we have there, they come in two sizes for the different lip profiles. So we'd want to make sure that matched up correctly.
Perfect.
Great, thanks, guys. I did want to mention Graham had piped in. He made a comment. We were talking about rafter and decking attachments, and he mentioned that attaching to the rafters actually will void the engineering for the truss. So the structural value of that truss is compromised the second you put a penetration in it. And we're seeing more AHJs across Canada and across the States that would prefer to see decking attachments. You know, and if you go back even just 5 years, 3 years, you know, decking it, no one wanted to touch decking attachment. Now it seems like everyone is headed in that direction. It's pretty amazing to see that shift.
Yeah, in Canada, it was really Nova Scotia market that started it the most. I found that there everyone wanted to go into the decking because I think what the requirement was to sister up every single connection point with a 2x4 on each side if you're going into the rafter. So that obviously is quite labor intensive.
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta say this is one of the better webinars that I've been involved in a while. I appreciate all the questions and the comments, guys. This is great. Does anyone else want to jump in on this?
Hey, this is Peter. Unfortunately, you have to get going, but thank you very much, Danny and Joe. It's awesome, and I'll talk to both of you most likely real soon.
Great, thanks, Peter.
That's good. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Peter.
See you. Bye, Kyle. Bye.
Okay.
Hi, Peter.
Well, thank you. If we have no further questions, then we've been going for what, an hour and a half now. So
yeah, we're
thank you, everyone.
Cruising through. I think Phil actually is on.
Great info.
Thanks, Phil. That's great, man. You know, doing this kind of stuff is a lot of fun. And definitely when we were locked down, I mean, this was my outlet. So Danny, I thank you so much for putting this together, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it because I haven't really done roofs in a long time. So I got into the commercial ground systems, and I've been doing that for about the last 7 or 8 years. So I'm just getting back up onto the roofs now. So it's changed quite a bit.
Dark side, huh?
Well, you know, I have my own racking company as well. So
okay, right.
Okay. Where are you located?
Phil, yeah. Phil,
I'm in Ottawa.
You, right, Phil?
Okay.
Just outside of Ottawa.
Right on.
So
awesome.
Yeah, no, I started off doing residential ground systems that were seasonally adjustable.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, I sold about 2 megawatts of those, 10 kilowatts at a time.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, this COVID thing is the first thing to slow down the industry since it wasn't government related.
Yeah, it'll be back up in no time.
We're starting to see
stuff happening.
Yeah, we're starting to see it pick up quite a bit now with the net metering and whatnot. So, which is
especially in Ontario, right?
Kind of exciting.
Large net metering commercial shops happening on rooftops. So quite interesting. Quite interesting. But I mean, this industry is here to stay. So we're super excited to be part of it. And you know, you've been around for long enough, and being in Ontario, you remember that it was in Canada, it was an Ontario only industry, right? And over the last 4 or 5 years, it's just been exploding everywhere. So that's the really exciting part. It's not just, you know, Ontario only anymore, and that's cool.
Well, and it's nice to see that there's still innovation there, because when we first started doing this 12, 15 years ago, I was doing mainly PV thermal, or the thermal, and we had no clue. We were just making it up as we went along. Especially
I think
for
we're all
attachments and whatnot. It was just, you know, it was because I think I started in 2005, and I had, like, we just kind of made it up, roofer to a certain degree, just doing asphalt shingles, but trying to connect stuff to the roof was, we kind of made it up as we went along and put lots of goop down and crossed your fingers. A lot of those
systems are still doing great. You know, Butyl tape and some caulk. I mean, a lot of those systems are still doing great. You know, Butyl definitely is. I had guys in Nova Scotia actually that, you know, there's parts of Nova Scotia that still racked with Butyl tape on the bottom of it. And when they saw when they saw the RTMini, they were like, "This is awesome." I was like, "Yeah, you like it?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I want to use this." He goes, "I use Butyl on L feet still." And I said, It's time to upgrade, buddy. Let's do this." And
well, it'll be nice going home without being covered in it in the clothes too.
Yeah. What's nice is that our Butyl is integrated onto each of the bases. Yeah. And because of the high thermal threshold, it doesn't bleed or anything. So you will go home fairly clean. I can't tell you won't have granules of asphalt in your socks and your shoes. But you know, my wife ran her hand through my hair the other day because I've been on a roof all week, and I actually had asphalt granules in my hair even after shampooing in the shower. And she was like, "What were you doing? Wrestling on the roof?" And I said, "No, we absolutely were not wrestling on the roof." It was 108 degrees on that roof. I didn't want anyone even 6 feet near me. I was like, it's the ultimate social distancing when it's hot on a roof, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and definitely good info. Looks like a great product.
Well, great. I appreciate it, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
All right, thanks.
Well, guys, it has been awesome. Anytime you want to do this again, Danny, you just let me know, and we'll get it fired up.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it again in a couple of months or so.
Sounds great, bud. All right, everyone. Have a terrific afternoon and an even better weekend.
Sounds good. Thank you, Joseph.
Take care. Bye. Be safe. Be well. Bye-bye.